Well, there is a long tradition, historical tradition of self-funding in the United States. In fact, 80% of funds for cultural organizations come from individuals. And then after that come foundations and corporate, at least with 5%. So there has to be an approach made to the citizenry, really, to support the cultural organizations that are important to them. I think the first thing that the government would have to do is institute tax laws so that there's an incentive for individuals and corporations to give. In the United States, people are allowed to deduct the amount of their contribution from their taxable income, and that is definitely an incentive, and I think one could start with that in Europe. Many years ago, I was working in the management of the Utah Symphony Orchestra, and they were looking to endow the different chairs, the different positions in the orchestra. One weekend, we had Pinka Zuckerman, the violist and violinist and conductor, as a guest artist. And he came to town, full of energy and enthusiasm, and his latest passion was tennis. And whenever he was not rehearsing or performing, he wanted to be on the tennis court. Well, I happened to know that one of the board members of the orchestra was an active tennis player, and so I suggested that perhaps he be the right partner for him, on the courts. And lo and behold, about 2 months later, that board member gave more, and in fact gave enough to endow the principal viola chair. And so that's an example of sort of personal connections, making those personal connections to unleash the the potential of giving. What we call cold calls don't work. Soliciting people to whom you or constituency to which you have no relationship will not work, because they don't know you, they don't know your cause, they don't care about you. There's no sense in, let's say, doing a direct mail appeal indiscriminately for a particular cause. They'll just throw that in the garbage. They won't even open it. The downturn has certainly affected it, especially because most giving in the United States is giving out of wealth and assets, not out of income. And the downturn in the markets has affected the stability and the growth of endowments, actually the net worth of endowments. And so endowment values plunged in consort with the stock market. And so there was less money to give. Giving is recovering a little bit, but certainly not at pre-crisis levels. It's also affected in that, since government spending continues to decrease for culture, more pressure is being decreased because more pressure is being put on giving to make up the gap for social services and education that the government had funded previously. First would be to lobby the government for tax reform so that donations, be they individual donations or corporate donations, would be tax deductible, because that's a big incentive. The other is to look at all possible sources of giving and motivation for giving. In America, we monetize every opportunity, whether it's going after local businesses that benefit from a concert hall or a venue or a museum being in that location, to particular programs of interest, to look at all the opportunities, and also to join together. In America, there's a big tradition of associations and people who are in the same field, especially in the not-for-profit field, join together to lobby for their, to advocate for their needs, but also to study the field and to study best practice. What is working, what's not working, what are the opportunities there. They don't see themselves as competitors so much as collaborators. And I would urge the Spanish to do that, and also to use technical resources online. There's a tremendous amount of information as to what does and doesn't work and where on the internet, and that's really there for the asking.